Hey guys, it is Alexis
and Lilian,
and today we are hanging out in our backyard. What the hell was that? So Miso is 3 months now. Where is she? Miso.
oh yeah, we're training her in German, which makes for some awkward conversation when our friends try to make her do anything. We're like, oh yeah, she only understands German.
Yeah. There you are. So now that we've got your attention with some cute Miso content, what we really want to be talking about is the whole Black Lives Matter protesting and just the whole situation that's going on right now. We actually postponed the original video we were going to post because we felt, it's not really necessary right now. That's why we're just doing a quick raw video for you guys.
I'm sure you guys have been hearing a lot of conversations around this because it's been everywhere. I think we know now, we're speaking as white people here, we're definitely not the experts, but I think we definitely know that it is not enough to simply not be a racist, and we need to be doing more to be anti-racist actively.
Yeah, and once this is all over and the protesting is done, to continue doing this. This isn't just, the hot topic of right now and like I'm posting and I'm doing things and look, hopping on the bandwagon, but this needs to continue after this is all kind of quieted down a little bit.
First of all, I want to say, because we have a large following that is not from the US, but this is something that concerns all countries, because I see a lot of European people being like, well, yeah, the states are fucked, like, what do you want me to do? It's not our problem. Well, no, think again, because
there's people of color everywhere.
Every country has a racism problem. Like, every Western, like European, whatever country totally has a racism problem. You might not have as many black people living there, but trust me, like, we all have work to do, and like so many legislations and everything that needs to be changed. So let's just acknowledge that us as queer people, we probably have a better understanding of oppression because we're already a marginalized group. But there's intersectionalism, right? So there you can have privilege in different shapes of forms coming from different places. I also want to say that, particularly from a queer perspective, it is Pride Month right now, and a lot of people are asking, how do we celebrate Pride this month? It's so much already happening in the world. Like, it's the pandemic. We're probably not gonna have a parade anywhere this year. Like, I know it's not happening here in any country that I know, because large gatherings, you just can't have that. What we can do this year is we can work on our community, because a lot of people seem to think, well, I'm gay, so like I can't be racist because I'm already oppressed. But that's not true, and it's actually shocking how much oppression and racism there is in a community that's already oppressed. You don't have this like protective barrier to be like, I'm gay, I'm oppressed, so like I can say this shit. No.
And it's shocking how much this happens in especially the male gay community.
In a dating context, a lot of people say like, well, I have a preference, like I only date people of like my own ethnicity or something.
Like no Asians. It's like,
you can't say that. You can't just disguise things by saying it's a preference. Like, it's still racism if you see a person as black, you're like, I'm not gonna date them, not gonna happen. I want to love this community, and I do, but we have so much more work to do.
Yeah,
there's so much prejudice. We need to work on racism in the queer community. We need to work on biphobia in the queer community. Like, yes, lesbians, I'm looking at you, those of you who say I'm not gonna date a bisexual woman because of yada yada yada. Because of what? Because you're insecure. It's your own insecurity, and only you can fix that by working on yourself. Transphobia, same thing.
Yeah, I think that's what blows my mind the most. Holy smokes, there's a big bumblebee.
Reminds me of the hornet attack back in Italy.
Oh god.
When you wanted me to kill a hornet.
There is racism happening in it, and it's not okay.
There's still a lot of people out there who say things like all lives matter. If that's what you're thinking, you're kind of missing the point.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you're understanding fully, and in that case you have a lot of education to do and some critical thinking. There are also a lot of people who are denying that white privilege exists, but like, just think about it. Prime example of white privilege is that we have the option to either engage in this discourse and be contributing to it, or we can be like, oh yeah, I don't feel like it right now, I just want to like do something else, it's too much for me, turn away from it, right? You sort of have that option, while black people, they don't just have that option because they're living it and it's their reality, and they can just be like, it's too much for me right now. We all need to educate ourselves And a lot of times we rely on black people to do that for us, you know? So I've heard from a lot of black friends that they're like, you can't always come to me and be like, okay, well, educate me, because that is not their job, and they have so much on their plate already. They don't have the energy to do that. There are so many resources out there. So like, actively go out and educate yourself and take advantage of those resources. I found some great articles. I'm gonna put the links below. So some are like, what can you do as a white ally, how to be anti-racist. There's a lot of great books. We're gonna put some resources of where you can donate, because you know, it's not enough. It's great if you're raising awareness by talking about this on like Instagram or YouTube or whatever, but put your money where your mouth is. So we've donated Hey, it's not my quote. We've donated to Black Visions Collective and Black Lives Matter, and there's lots of other great organizations and movements going on who really need our help right now, our financial help. If you feel comfortable and if there are protests happening in the area, go join them. We haven't joined any yet, full disclosure, because of various reasons, but the next legitimately organized one, we will be there.
Definitely.
Have those conversations with your friends. I'm sure a lot of you have been having those with family and friends. Call out even things like racist jokes, like that's a big part in it.
And we understand, yeah, it's uncomfortable, especially if you have racist family members. It can be a really weird thing to talk about, but be the voice. Let these people in your family know that like this isn't okay, and educate them yourself.
Also, to the people who are condemning the protests and the violence that is happening there, not all violence is coming from the actual protesters. A lot of it is peaceful, but there's been rumors of some infiltration to that, so just be aware of that. And because that's the way that the media works in manipulating people, right? So that it gets a bad rap, and sort of put fire under it. A bad rap?
Yeah, you said rap.
A bad rap. Sorry, English is not my first language. And also, again, my dear queer people, remember where our movement started. We would not have the rights that we have today if it wasn't for the Stonewall riots, which started as riots, and they were violent and they were being condemned at the time. And it was actually started by a black trans woman
who threw her shoe at a police officer.
So we have a lot of our rights from that movement, and it can go a very far away. So like, before you condemn that, just think about again your own privilege and what you have already achieved and where that comes from. So just a note while we're on the topic of education, me as someone who grew up in like a super white privileged environment in Europe, I was not used to the level of diversity that you have in big cities like here in Toronto, where sometimes I am the minority as a white person. So
when we were in South Africa though, we were like,
oh yeah, that too. But yeah, in Italy, like super white. In Germany, Berlin's more diverse obviously, but like we're so used to just having white people around that we often don't even really think about the perspective of people who aren't white, you know? So I had definitely a steep learning curve. I haven't even scratched the surface yet. But I think that a lot of us still think of racism just in terms of very overt racism. So actively saying like, yeah, I don't like black people. Or
like the old school racism.
Exactly. Everyone knows that that's bad. So a lot of people are like, well, like, I don't think that. I don't say that.
Yeah, and like I don't identify with that racism. It's like, okay, well, you shouldn't. First off,
there's so many other forms of racism. I'll show a graphic here that I put on Instagram that is pretty interesting, that visualizes all the different kinds of racism and how you can be racist, but that are more accepted in our society. We all have implicit biases, so you might think like, okay, like I don't have anything against black people.
I have black friends.
Yeah, exactly, like the typical thing. But implicit bias is something, it's basically prejudice that you have within yourself that comes from so many different factors that influence you, like what you've been taught, the media and everything, and you subconsciously treat people differently based on this implicit bias.
For example, there's an employer, they're gonna hire someone. One resume that they have is named Andrew, and the other resume that they have is named maybe Jamal. Automatically he goes for Andrew because he just thinks, oh, Andrew seems like a better guy, maybe has more work experience than Jamal. I think I'm gonna hire Andrew.
So yeah, basically picking someone over, they think, oh, it's because of the experience, but subconsciously they may picture someone white as Andrew and someone of color for Jamal, and then think like, well, I'm more comfortable with Andrew for whatever reason.
So but he could be like, but I'm not racist.
Yeah, and so we all have these implicit biases, and it's not only about racial bias. Racial bias is a subcategory of implicit bias. It's really important for us to become aware of those. There is actually implicit bias training that you can take, because it influences how you treat other people, and we all have it. It's completely natural, and just
it's like natural but very unnatural, you know what I mean?
It's so normal. It's normal is what I want to say. Like, it's everyone has implicit biases, and if someone says they don't have biases, like, I'm sorry,
they're lying to you.
You're wrong. Like, please don't say things like, well, I'm colorblind, I treat everyone the same way, I don't even see color, you know? Because like that, you're just denying that there is oppression, and you're denying the struggle of black people or people of color in general by saying like, we're all being treated the same way. Like, I don't see the difference. Well, I'm sorry, Andrew, you on your high horse as a white privileged male, that you can't wrap your mind around that, and you think you're, anyway. Andrew, what the hell?
We're getting a
Let's
little
talk.
amped. Jamal should have got the job.
Again, one more thing that I wanted to say, which I was also reading, like, a lot of our reactions are also like, oh my god, it's so shocking, like, I can't believe this is happening. And this is also something that black people then roll their eyes at, because they're like,
this has always been
oh
happening.
wow, that shows your privilege, like, this is our reality, so of course we know this, and no, we're not shocked. So that just shows how you've been living on your high horse, sort of ignorant of everything that's happening around you. George Floyd wasn't the first black man to be killed by the police.
Just only in this month, how many people was it?
I don't even know, but it's
a sickening number, and it's like, what? And another thing is, if you're in the USA, vote, because this is going to be like a huge thing. I'm sure there's always going to be controversy about issues like this, because some people then feel so hurt by it, also known as white fragility, and they're like, well, I'm not racist, why are you attacking me? And it's again like, please stop making it about yourself for a moment. Like, it's not about us. Like, it really isn't. And it's been about us for so goddamn long, and it still is.
That being said, we fully acknowledge that, again, we're not the experts. A lot of that we said may have been wrong. It's also not our voices that you should be listening to, but we're just trying to do what we can and amplify the voices of black people. Again, we're gonna put some resources in the description, and we really encourage you guys to also share your resources and to have respectful discussion.
And if you're watching this video and you disagree with the sentiments that we're saying, then please do yourself a favor, us a favor, and just unfollow us. We really don't want people watching our videos that are against this.
Thanks for watching. We're gonna post our next video, which was about also something very important, which is signs that you're in a toxic relationship, very soon.
Donate, use your voice, say something. You're smart and you know how to do this. Come here. Come say bye. Hey, little bear. She's getting so...
Oh, she is
big.
She is so big.
You're a bear cub.
And again, we have a lot that we still need to do ourselves, and we in no way think like, oh, we're so great and advanced for like talking about this. It's the bare minimum we can do.
Thank you. See you in the next one, guys.
Cheers.